Sawadee krap. I'm Jay, and this is Joe, and we are Astraeus Technologies. We're honored to be here on the stage presenting to you in a room full of so much talent and good work being done around the globe. Our team's goal is admittedly a lofty one. We want to save lives and reduce human suffering. And the way we want to do this is by going after one of the greatest population health threats we know, and that's lung cancer. Lung cancer is the #1 cancer killer worldwide, claiming more lives than breast, colon, and prostate cancer combined. Part of the reason this cancer is so deadly is that our current screening test, the CT scan, is not effective for the vast majority of patients. Take the US as an example. In the US, there are 94 million people at risk for lung cancer, but because CT scans are expensive, inaccurate, and harmful, it's only cost effective to screen for 9 million of that 94. Even still, because it's a bother to get this scan, only 1.6 million actually get scanned, so all in all, fewer than 2% of those at risk for lung cancer are getting screened for it. This is a terrible problem. These ratios are roughly replicable around the world, and we desperately need a better screening test. Our team came together because we care a lot about this issue. We've seen patient after friend after family succumb to this devastating disease. Alex is a Harvard med student training to be a lung cancer surgeon. Graham and I are Harvard MD/MBA students with relevant work histories, and Joseph is a MIT PhD student in chemistry, and he invented our solution, the L card. The L card is a simple gas sensor that detects molecules unique to the exhaled breath of lung cancer patients and sends a diagnosis to a smartphone. Previously, these gases have been identified in the lab using big, expensive technology. Now we can do it cheaply in the clinic using the L card. It's actually very simple. A patient breathes on a card. If they have lung cancer, gases in their breath trigger the card, causing it to transmit a wireless signal that can be interpreted by a smartphone. Diagnostic information is available instantly. We would actually love to demo this for you today.
Okay. So to my right, Jay is holding an L card and a smartphone with our proprietary app open. I will now expose the L card to my breath, which does not contain gases indicative of lung cancer. As a result, the L card does not react, and when scanned with the smartphone, reassures the physician that everything is normal, no gas detected. On the contrary, if we expose the L card to gases indicative of lung cancer, such as those present in this syringe, the L card's resonance properties fundamentally change, and diagnostic information is available within seconds.
I love that demo. This L card is better than CT scans in at least 4 ways. It's low cost. Whereas the median price for a CT scan is some $800 US, we can make these for less than $1. It's more efficient. Whereas you have to schedule a CT scan in advance, have a radiologist read it, have the results sent back to your doc. This takes seconds. It's also harmless. CT scans actually cause cancer, 1 in every 5,000 scans, because of all the radiation involved. There's no radiation here. And finally, and this is really important, CT scans are not accurate. Of the positive results they generate, some 96% are actually false positives, incurring extra follow-up scans, costs, etc. The L card is an order of magnitude more accurate. And the unit economics are also quite compelling. Because our variable cost is so low, we can create immense value, capture significant margin, and still provide large cost savings to the other stakeholders in this ecosystem. So that's the problem. That's our solution. How does the business model actually work? Okay, our customer is the provider. So I'm talking doctors, hospitals, physician groups, clinics, people delivering care to the patient. And we see the L card as being part of the annual checkup, incorporated into existing workflow. So using blue arrows to describe L cards, green arrows to describe payments, let's walk through this. Astraeus Technologies will sell L cards directly to the providers. These are some of the ones we're working with. These are the teaching hospitals at Harvard, and they are eager to get this into their clinics and with their patients. Providers then scan the patients, who are meanwhile paying premiums to their insurers, and these insurers, with a little copay from the patients, then reimburse the provider. This is our ecosystem. At scale, when we're selling these regularly, it's conceivable to imagine how a parallel revenue stream would emerge in the form of medical distributors. Again, parallel, not a replacement for direct sales to providers. So that's our problem, that's our solution, that's how we see it working on a day-to-day basis. Now Joe's going to tell you how we plan to get there.
So we want to bring the L card to East Asia as well as to the United States. And we see these happening in parallel and also in a reinforcing way. So we have a relationship with a top clinician at Fudan University, Dr. Haikun Chen, and he is world renowned. Hundreds of publications. His clinic does 5 times the volume in thoracic surgery than any other clinic in Asia. Our objective here is to do a pilot program on the order of $20,000 to $30,000 this summer, wherein we will do a product rollout and show that this has legs. Once we do that, it has a very unique feature in that it accelerates FDA approval in the United States, which allows us to get to sales faster. And that brings us back to our unit economics. If you recall the unit economics, because our cost to produce are so low, we have room to play and actually take some of those profits and take it back to Asia. And let me talk about how we're going to do that. So first of all, we're going to provide L cards free of charge. This allows diagnosis in a way that is not currently possible. But in addition to that, we're going to subsidize treatment. That is clinical treatment and surgery. Clinical treatment, we're working with a couple of pharmaceutical partners who have voiced to us that the main issue that they have is identification of patients. And so the L card provides the connection between the patient and treatments that work very well in stage 1 and stage 2 lung cancers. As far as surgery goes, we're working with a Harvard organization that has established relationships across the globe, especially in low resource settings, for increasing access to surgery. But again, the resounding theme is we need better access to patients, better identification. The L card provides the connection. From there, once we've validated this in China, in parallel, we're going to be working with Asian Development Bank and actually try to replicate this model throughout the region. Going forward, we've seen that the main issue here is increasing access. So let me talk about how the product actually allows us to do that. Built into the DNA of the product is that it's low cost, it's easy to use, it's accurate, and it's safe. And again, this connects the patient to the treatment, closing the feedback loop. There's an element here that I haven't talked about, and that is the unique feature of being able to investigate the lung cancer landscape on scale. And that's the population data piece. So going forward, imagine you're the patient. You breathe on a lung cancer card, you scan it with a smartphone, the data goes to the cloud. Now imagine that we're doing this on hundreds, thousands, millions of individuals. We're actually able to gain lung cancer incidence insight that correlates with gender, with age, with smoking history, and very importantly, geospatial correlation. That allows us to disentangle who's getting lung cancer because of smoking, who's getting lung cancer because of industrial activity, pollution, so on and so forth. And imagine you take this through time, you can see that trend evolve, evolution of lung cancer, and hopefully someday devolution of lung cancer through regions.
And that's why we're here. We're going after lung cancer. We have found that the root cause is ineffective screening. We found an interesting angle with these gases, and we've built a transformative technology around them. We now want to bring this technology to markets across Southeast Asia, the US, and globally. And to do that, we need GSV support to catalyze this product rollout in Fudan University this summer. It's primed, it's ready, it just needs to get going. But our story doesn't actually stop there. Gas has been identified for a variety of diseases. We ultimately intend on screening for all of them. And this is not pixie dust. Let's take malaria just as an example. We know the gases that are relevant, and we've proven that our technology can detect them at clinically relevant concentrations, part per billion. But we're focusing on lung cancer. We want to prove the model, and once we've established it, we can iterate usefully. At least that's the dream. Thank you so very much for your time today. We'll take any questions you have.
Thank you guys very much. Chacha, do you want to start? Thank you.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Cancer has a first stage, second stage, third stage, etc. How sensitive is this sensor? I don't know when are the gases given out, at what stage, and in what concentration. So when can you detect?
Absolutely. That's part of the reason we're so excited, because these gases are detectable at the very earliest stages, before the cancer is spread, when it's eminently treatable. And that allows us, because that science exists, and because new data has come out supporting the sensitivity and specificity for those gases for early stage cancer, and because this technology can detect it at those part per billion concentrations, which are different in healthy and non-healthy patients, we can diagnose earlier and connect them to treatments far beyond. Part of the reason it's so deadly is because when we find lung cancer is a silent killer. In the first few stages, it doesn't actually cause symptoms. It's not till it's really flagrant, stage 4, metastasized throughout the body, that you're having corporeal symptoms and difficulty breathing and all these terrible things. And so because we only find it then, that's why it's so deadly, and that's why the numbers are so dramatic. Because exactly as you noticed, these gases are detectable early, we can treat it early.
But even in the first stage of cancer, there is
Yes.
enough concentration of the gases to be picked up.
Absolutely.
And I can speak to that a little bit more. So you notice that it's a one-time use device. The reason it is, actually, is because the chemistry itself is irreversible chemistry. So we're able to get very fast reaction kinetics. We published a number of papers where we're actually able to show 10 parts per billion and lower, still accurate detection, which is substantially below the bar that we need to detect at stage 1, which is at approximately 300 to 700 ppb for stage 1. And then for stage 2 and so on and so forth, it goes into ppm range.
You good? Sorry if I jump in. So you guys spoke a little bit about sort of the regulatory barriers. Could you give me sort of, walk us through what it takes to get you from here to being fully in the market in the United States? As quickly as possible, sorry.
Yeah, so actually just this week, one of our partner hospitals back at HMS has approved one of our RRBs, internal review boards, to start collecting data with patients non-invasively in that lab. We're going to have that data actually by the end of May, or potentially even the beginning of May. Once you're there, you then go and actually proactively engage the FDA and talk them through what your plan is, what your strategy is. Early discussions with actually former FDA directors as well as consultants have shown that they are very interested in this mixed model of actually demonstrating its efficacy in China at a reputable institution like Fudan. And then you go back, we'll do a 3,000 patient head-to-head with CT scans and show that this could actually be a prior approval mechanism for that patient funnel in the United States.
Absolutely, and this is where our partnerships are so important. So Alex, this good-looking guy right here in the top left, is currently slaving away at Brigham and Women's Hospital and has gotten the approvals through, collecting data, and it's coming in. And he actually just called us within the last 12 hours and said, guys, it's super promising. You can say this on stage and you won't get in trouble. We're just fine. And so that's the first piece. And then because these two, it's exactly as Joe's saying, if you show that you've actually had success at a scalable level, like Fudan University, with Dr. Haikwan Shan, who's actually respected worldwide, especially by a lot of, it was regulators at the FDA who told us about him. Meanwhile, Alex actually knew him from his lung cancer interests. And so these are also really pieces of the puzzle that know each other. And once we connect them, it accelerates the timeline from what would have been about 3 to 5 years for a normal pathway down to 6 to 12 months when we can show that kind of data at scale. That's why that pilot is so important.
Yeah.
Thank you. What I have not heard from, by the way, is the potential is very disruptive technology. There's no question about that in my mind. But I have not heard from you. How are you going to reach the really poor who are outside the system? From what I understand is that your first point of intervention is through existing providers who are working within the system, presumably. And what was your sort of social impact of that strategy?
So that's an excellent question, and it's one we've thought a lot about. So with any diagnostic, you're still going to have false positives. And so for us, it's essential we can close the feedback loop on the treatment. So while we want to enter into systems where we're treating those who are most at need, It's also very questionable to do it in a situation where you cannot get the treatment effectively. With the follow-up, you're going to have to do a follow-up punch biopsy ultimately to confirm that they have lung cancer to justify the treatment. However, we want to do this we want to scale as far down into that pyramid as we possibly can with the Harvard partner hospitals. The NGO of Harvard that has these relationships in the developing world. In addition, we're actually looking at a model where we could actually collect patient sample data with the L-card to inform insight and metrics as to where the actual optimum function is to get L-cards into the lowest possible segment of that pyramid.
Absolutely. It's an interesting situation where, if we take that earlier example about because it's useful numbers, the 94, it's only this very top 1.6 that's actually currently getting it. So we're currently trying to take that 1.6 to about 9 to 10. And then yes, the ultimate goal is to keep going down the pyramid, but we got to start somewhere.
So 2 quick questions on the business side of this. One, I think I understand that the patent is held actually by MIT, is that correct?
That is correct.
So they're licensing this to you on a per unit basis, and you're just getting some smaller share of the fees then?
So actually, it's a little bit better than that actually. MIT becomes a common stockholder of the company for startups. So for a corporation, what you just said is absolutely accurate. For startups, they actually incentivize the inventors for the entrepreneurial route by becoming a common stockholder. That aligns MIT with our objectives as well, and it really helps us leverage MIT's entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Great. And then just on the revenue ramp up, with so many different moving pieces, I didn't get a clear sense of the revenue stream. One would be a source from actually selling the L cards themselves. Then there's these, and that's through direct sales and distribution networks, and then there's the other interventions that would follow and what have you. How do these things ramp, and what share of revenue over time, how does that break down?
So the primary revenues is actually from the direct sales. I think what you're talking about is these other revenues from connecting patients to treatments. Yeah. So that is a portion that we're still working out with our global partners, but we definitely see the majority of revenues in the first few years of the rollout just coming from the direct sales of the card. And we have confidence in the margins because our variable cost is so low that, and when we go through when we plug through our actual financial model and we vetted our models with a lot of different people, that it actually does scale in a profitable manner.
Dave, you want to ask?
I have a follow-on to Yuval's question about BOP. I'm curious, there was no mention.
Thank you. Follow on to Yuval's question about BOP. I'm curious, I didn't see any mention of partnering with some of the traditional providers of BOP, like Task Force for Global Health or PATH. I'm curious if that's an opportunity you're considering. Thanks.
It's absolutely an opportunity we're considering. Currently, we're just going with the relationships and the partnerships that we know work and that we've fleshed out the most. But there are definitely other examples, including ones you just mentioned, that are definitely in our minds. But we just see more success with the ones that we've presented so far.
And Terry?
We don't want to surrender control. Ultimately, we have a very core social mission, and we are wary of taking on institutional investors who may have conflicting motivations. So we want to maintain control as much as possible, partnering with institutions and people whose motivations we trust, whose hearts we trust, and who we believe. And we're also a very nascent team, and we don't want to raise institutional capital this early in the game.